All right, we are live from Tales from the Tavern. I am super excited about the people that we have here tonight. I'm also really proud of myself for counting that down almost exactly spot on. So go me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go around. I'm going to give everybody a quick chance to introduce themselves, and then we will get this conversation going. So, chat members, if you have questions for any of our really awesome guests, Candlous just saw what we put on the screen for her.
I am literally tired.
Thank you.
I'm such a child. I am literally such a child.
And Wolfsblood, you've been awarded a +1 from Pyrotex.
Oh, nice. I want to give my +1 to Mike tonight.
All right.
So.
All right. Candlous, have you seen the stream yet?
I've seen the stream.
Okay. Have you seen your picture on the stream yet?
Oh, yeah, I'm looking right at it.
Okay. All right,
A lot
guys.
of accurate information.
All right, guys.
Yes.
Have fun.
Thanks. So, yes. So I'm going to go around. I'm going to give everybody a chance to introduce themselves, and then we'll dive right into the conversation. So, Wolfsblood, let's start with you. Tell us a little about who you are and all that good stuff.
I'm Wolfsblood 2012. Most of you guys know me from the chats. I am a moderator here for HowINerd. I'm also a moderator for Gamer Mom Luna over on her channel, as well as a Mr. Cyclone Jack that may actually be out in the audience right now. And big into gaming, big into tabletop gaming. In fact, coming up on almost 30 years playing tabletop, and absolutely love it. Can't wait to kick back, relax, and talk some nerd tonight.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on, and I would like to formally apologize in public for getting you on my list of people that were going to be on the show last night when I was listing everyone off. That happened, and that was wholly embarrassing. He's in chat. He's like, really, Luna?
I believe my response was seriously.
Yeah.
And it was with this face.
I could picture it too. That's the sad thing.
And the little tear.
Yeah.
There was a little tear. I was trying to hold that back. I didn't want the pity vote tonight, but.
And we will move over to Nerdy Chicken.
I am at ChickenlyNerd on Instagram and Twitter, and I think everybody should after this, they should run and look at my shop, nerdychicken.ca. Lots of really amazing nerdy stuff by lots of really amazing nerdy artists, and there's some new stuff going to be in there, so you got to keep checking.
Yeah, her website is super cool. I've had a ton of fun poking around on it. Also, my birthday's in August, in case anybody's interested. Just saying. There was one time I think I put something out on Twitter. I found it in your shop, and I was like, if anybody would like to buy me this $160 journal.
Hey, it's still here if you want it.
Yeah, actually, if you want, we can drop a link to it in chat too. It's if people want to check it out. So
sure, I would love that.
Yeah, so we'll do that. Catching stuff in chat already. So Benjamin, let's go to you next.
Hey everybody, I'm Benjamin. I'm the Dungeon Master for a little actual play podcast called LawfulGreatAdventures, a Pathfinder 1E podcast. We've been going since about February. We've got 30 episodes. Just relaunched all of our earlier stuff for a little better new player experience. And I am thrilled to be back on Tales from the Tavern once again. I love talking about this stuff with the people that do it and play it and enjoy it. And I kind of wish Tales from the Tavern was a real place. I wish it was a place I could go every day after work.
Yeah. We've had this conversation on Twitter. I picture it being a place kind of like Cheers, where you just walk in and everyone shouts your name.
Yep.
Like the door opens up and everyone's like, Benjamin! And then you just grab a seat and you pick up a one shot and off you go.
That'd be amazing.
Right? I think so too. So we need to get on to this. Let's do it. Let's do it, Mike. Cool. And thanks for dropping that link in chat. There's a Nerdy Chicken shop right there in chat if you want to check it out. So please do that. Candlous, we're going to go to you next.
Hi, I'm Yacht's sister. That's my one and only redeeming quality, and I'm here to talk D&D.
That's not true.
I thought you were the only redeeming quality of Yachts.
Ooh. No, there's a twist.
I'm just saying, I mean, the dude can hardly stand on his own, so.
Yacht says, more true. So
Yeah, I'm super excited to be on and to talk to D&D with you guys.
yeah.
Yay.
And last but not least, we have our friend Johnny, who is joining us all the way from the UK. So it is like 1 a.m. over there. Johnny, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Hello, I'm Johnny. I'm a DM for EarthsEmbers, a short-form D&D podcast with a rotating cast where each season is self-contained and only hour-long episodes, so nice and easy to listen to. And just want to say thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you here. And I had the chance to, I sort of poured over your website a couple weeks ago when we were first chatting about having you come on. And I was like, oh my God, their website is gorgeous and they have really awesome music. And so, yeah, so it was, I'm very excited to have you here.
Thank you kindly.
So, yeah. So I'm going to throw a question out to you guys. And I want you to give me your thoughts. So this question was actually posted on Twitter today by Waffles Maple Syrup, their podcast and stream. And so the question that they asked was, if you were looking for an introductory one-shot that allowed you to learn the game as you play, what's the tone of the one-shot that you would want? Would you want something serious, funny, a combination? What would you want that to look like? So I'm just going to open the floor and jump in as you feel so inclined.
So you're saying just an introduction to the game? I'm
That's
doing this
my
just to-
understanding. Like, if you've never played the system before and you want to get a feel for it, what kind of game would you want to play?
I think if the system itself is going for a specific tone, like Monster of the Week, then obviously your one-shot introduction needs to fit that tone. But if it's just like a general like D&D thing, I lean towards funny because it's easier to reel people in with the humor. I think some people would want to mix, but honestly, with like new players, they're focused on their character sheet and then whatever the vibe of the game is. So I would want to keep it limited, right? So if it's going to be funny, then we're going to keep it funny. Actually, I saw this and I answered into Twitter. My favorite introduction to any system is the module Weeby Goblins, which is a level 1 adventure where you actually play as goblins and they get in all sorts of trouble and do dumb things and they fight dogs and horses. And it's tonally very ridiculous. And there's lots of stupid role-playing prompts, like the Goblin Bard has to sing a dumb song. And so it kind of gets everyone at the table moving and laughing and having fun. And it doesn't try too hard to be dramatic or intense, which I think is good, because what you really want to do if you want to get people into the hobby is you want to try to disarm them a little bit and try not to make it, in my opinion, not so serious, because if you start getting serious, then people start getting self-conscious.
I think that's really true. I got stitched up last October where my cousin asked me to try and get my family into D&D, and they are not nerds at all. And so my kind of humor wouldn't have gone over too well. So I had to try and think about what do they like, and they like things like Cluedo, which was the touchstone they gave me. Well, we like Cluedo. Is D&D like that? So I had to sort of create a one-shot that was 10 puzzle rooms, essentially, that sort of linked together, and then created them some pre-gen characters that all had backstories that linked. The idea being that it was like an amnesia, that they would just woke up in this place, and then each room they solved, one of them recovered a memory so that they could try and piece together how they knew each other and what they were there for. And each room was just a really simple puzzle that sort of taught the mechanics as they went and kind of encouraged teamwork. So it was very combat light. And I think if I'm trying to introduce people who aren't nerds and aren't like us, who just want to learn a new system, I tend to go down something like that that's, like you said, quite friendly and welcoming, rather than, well, we're in a tavern and here's a dragon, because that's
Off you go.
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that sounds really neat though. That idea of just every room being like built around a certain mechanic to
Yeah.
get them used to it. I like that idea.
Can I plug? Because I say that's
Yeah,
available
absolutely.
in the DM's Guild now. I mean, you can get it straight through my website. It's a published,
Really?
like all the
Because
character sheets, everything's straight in there. Yeah, it's
I have the
$4,
same
I think.
situation going on. I have the same situation. My family's like, come on, we actually want to play, we want to do something, and I'm like, I don't know how to do something for everybody who wants to play, because they're all very different. But I think, and that's, if you gear each room for a different mechanic or a different thing to get used to, and just take your time and introduce it, it's not overwhelming, like you said, and it's I think that's an awesome idea, and I will be. You said DM skilled?
Yeah, get it straight through the website.
There's also
Okay.
a link conveniently now in chat.
Oh, thank you kindly.
A link in chat.
There you go.
But no, I agree. If I'm going to be introduced into a new world, I need to be able to go in and have fun with it in order to get hooked into it. I think the best introduction I ever had was actually being introduced into Ravenloft. And
Oof.
yeah, but not oof. It started basically as Monster Mash. That's how we were introduced into the world.
That's fun.
We got thrown in. It was a masquerade ball. We thought we were all dressed up. Nope, turns out skeletons actually were. And that was our introduction into Ravenloft. So
that's great.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a great way to get hooked in. And then we got super serious and everything else. And, here be Draco Liches. Yay.
I think I'm sort of on the same fence. It would have to be silly or it'd have to be funny, because otherwise people don't really want to sit there and think about 12 pages of backstory when they're first getting into it, or say like, what am I going to do if my character dies? It's got to be more like, slipped on the banana peel, roll 1 to open the drink, or something like that.
Yeah.
I think scary too would work.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
almost the same as funny, because funny and scary are kind of mixed in together. So the whole starting it with a Ravenloft, maybe not necessarily the entire campaign, but starting off with a Ravenloft kind of theme would be really great, like really scary. Scooby-Doo, maybe.
Yeah.
I find finding something other to ground your players in, because if they are familiar with fantasy role playing, then yeah, obviously everything we're saying is exactly what we would want. But if they're from outside the world, then it's that touchstone, something kind of real within that world. So I always give Dungeons and Daddies as a great example. When my brother told me about the show, he went, "Oh, there's this great podcast where it's 4 soccer dads taking their kids to soccer practice, and they end up in the Forgotten Realms." And as a fantasy fan, I went, "Yeah, I'm out. That sounds awful." And he went, No, seriously, trust me. And I listened to the first episode, and it's so ridiculously funny. And I recommended that to a few non-D&D fans, and it's really hooked them in, because that's kind of real-world, tangible experience that they can kind of link onto. And loads of them off the back of that have said, "Can you run a game like that?" I said, "No, but I can." Sorry. Those guys are.
That's not mine.
Yeah, no, they're very funny. That's kind of not my thing.
So when they showed up on the Sword Coast, did they get laughed at for the minivan too?
No, it was they kind of play it very for japes as well. That their kind of opening is not a BDSM podcast, occasionally a D&D podcast, because they're all storytellers and voice actors. So it's leaning into the comedy much more than the D&D, but it's fantastic, so good.
Yeah, one of my friends actually just mentioned that the other day, that he was listening to that. He was like, "I'm hanging out by the pool listening to Dungeons and Daddies," and he mentioned that was their tagline. I about spit my drink out when I heard that. I was like, "That's fantastic. I love it." Mike made a good point too. We were talking about this question before we went live, and Mike jumped in with a good point too, saying, if it's going to be a streamed game, sometimes you want to play to your audience, and whatever your audience is. If you know that you have an audience that's going to like something that's really funny, then you might want to play to that. Or if they like the more serious, sort of intense RP stuff or things like that, then you might want to play to that. So there's that to take into consideration too, I guess. But
I always kind of think of it like Scrubs. Scrubs
Yeah.
starts with the funny and the goofball, and then it hits you with the brother dying of leukemia. And by the time they get to that, you're so disarmed that you've allowed yourself to be vulnerable by laughing, and now you'll let the sad in. Whereas if you start with the sad at the dark, you might not take it right away because you're going to get defensive.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
So I guess a follow-up question that I have is, do you prefer to, for those of you that play more, what do you prefer to play? Those of you that DM more, what do you prefer to DM? But do you prefer to do the more serious or the funny, or the combination of the two? What do you guys like to do?
I definitely prefer the more easygoing, funny. like for sure a mixture. You have to have somewhat of a story in it, but it's more fun if everyone's laughing and having fun than it is if everyone's crying and being like, no, David, no.
Yeah.
I'm actually one of those that needs to have it a bit more serious. If I'm going to do the full length campaign, I will be a lot more bought into it if I have that full gambit of emotion going on, to where we are both very serious. We can have the laughter and all that, but if I become invested in my character, I'm going to play that character very seriously at that point.
Yeah, you play better if you have emotional consequences, if there's something that might actually really affect you. And actually you laugh harder then too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If there's a chance of crying, then there's definitely a chance of hilarious laughter.
Definitely. I think if it's a one shot, I want something funny where I can just be ridiculous. But for a campaign, yeah, give me dark and serious and full on medieval bleak.
Yeah, I just want it to feel real if I'm going for the long form. I want to feel like there's thought in the characters. I want to feel like there's that the NPCs, even if we're just going to meet them for a little bit. I actually it's Neural Nexus, the GM for that one, Neural Nexus Zero. He's really great at taking a little one-off NPC and just throwing in a little tidbit that makes it sound like there's an iceberg, like the full iceberg underneath that. I just love that stuff. So even if it's a more lighthearted campaign, if I feel like it's three-dimensional beyond sort of the narrow scope that I get, that's what really hooks me on. I don't know, too much like joking around and messing around. If I'm trying to be immersed in it, it just pulls me straight out, like pop culture references and that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, okay, that's right. We are playing a game. I am not this character at this moment.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think for me, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Oh,
you started first.
I was going to say for me, I kind of need to find a balance between like being really silly and like getting really into my character. I guess it really depends on the campaign that I'm playing. Because I was in one campaign for a little while, and I backed out of it for various reasons, but it was a character, like the campaign and the tone of my character needed to be more serious, but the rest of the party, and I don't fault them for it because it was kind of how they played their characters, tended to be a lot more lighthearted, and that was really a challenge for me because my character was very like this, very focused, very intense, wasn't there to have fun, wasn't there to mess around. Just get me in, get me out, let me do my job and be done with it. And so that was more that character, whereas there are other, like, I think about like the tabletop tavern games here that I play in, and those are a little more, both of my characters are a little more lighthearted, and the tone of those campaigns in general tends to be a little more, sort of like, silly and like friends playing in somebody's basement, things like that. So I think for me, there's a time and a place for both. It just depends on the campaign that I'm in.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
Okay, I'll go now. Go
ahead.
In the game that I've started playing with Shambazil Games with Brad, he's doing a really good job as GM. He gives voices to every one of his NPCs. Even if he's got 5 of them on the go all at once, they'll all have a different voice and a different personality. And sometimes as a player, I'll find myself listening so intently to the conversations he's having with himself that I'll forget that I'm supposed to be playing. It's like I'm listening to an audio play or something, like, what's going on now? Oh my gosh. Oh.
Yeah.
And then he stops and looks at us. We're like, oh, right.
I will say though, for me, when I listen to podcasts, and Benjamin, I'm gonna throw you out here because I listen to your podcast. I'm currently playing catch up. I'm on episode 13. And I might be on, oh no, I'm on 15 now. I'm on episode 15 now. And that's one thing that I really appreciate, that you're so conscious of doing voices for your NPCs, because when you're listening and you're not watching somebody play it, it's so helpful to be like, okay, they're playing as a character now and not the DM, or not, it's not one of the other characters, that I've gotten familiar to hearing their voice or something like that, and then when I hear that voice again, I'm like, oh, that's right, that's Captain Otem, or that's, whoever. So so yeah, I remember people. See, I really am listening.
Oh my god.
So that's really helpful for me because I don't get the time to sit down and watch as many streams as I would like to. So I listen to a lot of them as podcasts, and that's super helpful for me.
Well, and if you're not good with like accents and stuff, you can do different things with your own personal voice, like change how fast you talk, or change like how pitched you are, high or low, or any number of things that, like, if you're really worried about or self-conscious about accents, if you think they're going to be cartoony or whatever, you can change just how you, the person, talk. And that will, once you get used to it, if you can get it consistent. I have the advantage, I have a very long commute, so I practice the voices while I'm driving and listening to other shows. If you practice just a little bit and get the feeling of how the character talks in your head, you'll eventually land on it, and then that can help your players cue off of the way you're speaking, so that you don't fall in into the NPC dialogue trap quite as much, where you end up having to have conversations with yourself. You can kind of get in, say what you need to say, and then get out and cue back to the players.
I mean, you say that about practicing, but I cannot get it. It's kind of a joke among my friends that despite being a musician, I'm used to practicing and improving things, and pitch and tone, that's something I work with day to day. Voices, I'm prodigiously bad at them. I forget accents halfway through a sentence, and I've really worked on it before the podcast. I really trained on those voices, especially for season 2, where I had folks from America playing. It wasn't just my friends. I thought, no, I've actually got to put a little bit more effort in. And it got to the show, and just halfway through, had notes in front of me, written out what I needed to do. So I'm really in awe of anyone who can actually keep that stuff going.
Well, it's a good thing your voice is so pleasant anyway.
Oh, thank you kindly, sir.
Yeah, for us, that is an accent.
Yeah.
How you're speaking right now, we're like, what an amazing accent he's doing right now.
To me, this is just normal.
I know.
I'm sitting here going, wow, they've all got amazing accents.
Now we know you're
told
just
I had
nice.
the most New England accent somebody had ever heard, and I was like, oh, you haven't heard a thing.
See, in England, I'd say that we get there's American, and then there's Texan, and then probably New York. I can probably do those 3 on a good day, and tell them apart. And people go, oh, you can really hear the difference between Canadian and American, and British people nod and go, yeah, no, sorry.
Yeah, I think we sound a little more ridiculous, but there's definitely a difference.
I'm sure there is. It's to an untrained ear. You just all sound lovely.
For sure. Yeah. Well, that's just I'm sure that over in the UK, there are lots of differences in different regions and stuff. To us, it's just have some tea. It's all.
We are all either Cockney or related to the Queen. It is true.
Right. I was going to say, to me, you're either all the London English or the Cockney English, and that's all I can hear.
You're either the flower girl.
Oh no, we've got a third one now, thanks to Game of Thrones. You've now got the gruff Northerner as well. Oh, so or I don't know if Poldark's made it over to America yet, but we've got Poldark, the Cornish one as well, the West Country. So we're up to 4 accents in England internationally now.
Wow.
My favorite accent from the UK is David Tennant trying to hide his Scottish accent. That's
yes,
it slips out just a little bit. It's beautiful.
Tennant's a master of that.
That's great. Candlous, you DM a lot, don't you?
Only very sparsely know that COVID's really upon us. My bad. But I love to DM. It's a lot of fun. I'm definitely not an experienced DM by any means, but it's so much fun to weave storytelling and get everyone to have a good time.
Yeah. Are you a voices person or not really?
The last small sort of campaign we started, we did actually online, and I used a one of those things you download to change your voice.
Yes.
Because it was way easier. And it was so exceptional. Instead of me going, hello, my name is Nikki, it was a lot more
Ooh.
vocal range than I could ever manage.
I had to do that. I played a one shot of I played a mouse folk, and so my mouse folk was like 1'2" or something like that, and had this super high pitched voice, and I knew if I tried to hold that up for 4 hours, I was gonna kill my throat.
Just wouldn't happen.
So yeah, so I did the same thing. I downloaded a voice modulator that let me talk in a really high pitched voice like this for 4 hours.
Great choice.
Yeah, that would have been awful trying to do that, but that actually leads me to a good question that we got actually from Yachts. Yachts would like to know, home game or online, which is superior and why?
Home game is less superior to online because you don't need pants online.
Oh, that's fair. I'm gonna go with that one. I like that answer.
Do you need pants in your home game?
That's a good point.
Depends.
I mean, I guess it depends on who's playing in your home game.
That's right.
It's like putting that through the translation. Pants means something very different over here. So that's a whole other level of comfort I'm getting from your online gaming. Wow. It's really going deep.
Yeah, that's right. Travelers.
It's fine.
Yeah.
No,
Optional pants.
that's fine. I'm the odd one out. It's fine. Definitely home for me. I love face to face. There's just that intimacy that it's hard to do online. I play in 3 online campaigns, 1 as a DM and 2 as a player, and the guys are great. But in the 2 of them, they don't like using cameras, and so it's really hard hearing vocal cues and just picking up on people. I'm deaf. I'm half deaf, so I find that difficult if I don't have visual stimulus. So for me, just being around a table, actually being able to sense the room, see how people are reacting, and use the minis that I've spent hours painting, as opposed to a token that I found online, is just so heartwarming.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to do at the table. It's electric. When you get the vibe right, if you get the right people at the table, it is electric. And most of my playing I do recorded nowadays. I've just got one casual game that we do online, and it's a very different vibe with some people I have good chemistry with. But there was actually, in the game I'm doing now, we started at the table for many, many episodes, and then the COVID happened. We decided to keep going. We went online, and it just totally threw off the vibe, and we didn't know. It took us a while to get used to that, and then we went back to the table, and literally like night and day. We barely even realized how much being online, with the latency, with the lack of visual cues, with the lack of just feeling each other's sort of warmth and energy. We got back, and instantly, boom, the whole table just exploded again, like we had never been away from it. So yeah, that's kind of when I realized it's okay, online, it's fun, and if that's how you got to get a game, that's how you got to get a game. But the table is just there is a real magic there.
Yeah, in a completely serious answer, there's definitely good points to each of them. There's a lot of things you can do online that you have more trouble doing in person, and there's a lot of things that you can't do online that you absolutely can do in person, like punch someone when they roll 6 nat ones. There's really good things to both sides of
Physical
it.
violence.
I don't really know
definitely.
if I have a favorite. Yeah.
I was going to say also,
definitely
you get the food. You can share food and drink on a table game, and that's good. That's a
It is
social
more
thing.
personal.
But if I hear one more person crunching through a microphone that they haven't muted, I might strangle them. So ups and downs.
No, I know.
Oh yeah.
I prefer in person for sure, because then when you're playing online, like you have all said, it's a lot of fun. I don't want to take anything away from that, but if as a character, your character wants to look at another character and go, you can do that in person. Whereas here, you'd have to go, I look at Joe with a look, we have to describe it online, whereas you could definitely look right at them or punch them.
Yeah.
And here's a controversial take. Does it make DMs lazier? At the table, there's that. I said it's controversial. At the table, when someone asks you something, depending on your setup. So for me, I've got some paper notes in front of me. If I don't have it in front of me, I'm going to wing it. I'm going to improvise it. I don't worry thinking, I'll just take a minute to look that up. Whereas if it's a particular spell or something, I've had a few people go, just have a look online on D&D Beyond, see if I can find it, and then we'll talk about it and clarify it. And for me, that just really kills the pace of the game. I think that face-to-face thing, again, for I'd say for some DMs can just lead it to be a little bit of a quicker and more intuitive game.
I think for me, I prefer in person for a lot of the reasons that were said, but also there's something about rolling these, like just
Yeah,
rolling
definitely.
actual dice.
Definitely.
You know, I mean, I know there's a lot of people who do when they're playing online that still use actual dice. We here we use fantasy grounds, so we're rolling virtual dice, which again is fine. But at the same time, it's like I really just want to roll real dice. You know, I miss that.
Yep.
I can't take my dice outside and put in timeout when they're not rolling right.
Yeah.
The long tumble of a d20 during a critical moment as it like skitters across the table, goes a little farther than normal, and then lands, and everyone is leaned up on it looking at it, and they all come to the realization that it's showing a natural 20 at the same time. That is irreplaceable. That is the explosion that brings people together, and what makes, you know, the playing of the game so special.
Yeah. I love that. Or you know, then there's those times that like you roll it a little harder than you should. It goes on the floor, it lands a nat 20, and you're like, that one counts. That one counts. But it's a
No.
1. Nope, we don't count the ones that go on the floor.
Table rolls only unless the cat hits it.
Yeah.
What if it lands in a shoe? It didn't hit the floor. Landed in a shoe.
I mean, if you're at my house, you're not wearing your shoes at the table anyway, so they're over by the door.
You really threw that dice way too hard.
I get it in my throat.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Another question came up from Verbal Components, and this was a topic of conversation that I had with them today. So Matt wanted to put it out to everybody here. What's the most important aspect to character creation for all of you? Don't all talk at once.
I mean, it's a good question.
It is
Yeah,
a good
it is.
question.
Great.
I'm genuinely thinking here, like, what is the most important part? Because there's quite a few that have to happen, especially for me anyway. Some people just can throw a character together. They're fine with the pre-generated characters, and they'll just go ahead and play that way. I actually have to know a little bit about my character's history and a little bit about their personality so they'll know how to react to certain situations. Like sometimes something happens and I'll go, how would my character handle that? And I know how I would, but this character is so different from me. So if you don't have that answer, it usually takes a few times playing that character, and then you can start to put that stuff together. But what's the most important thing when you're putting it together?
I think a hook. The one I always go to in the back of my head is the phrase "Magnus rushes in" from the Adventure Zone, and that was just the really basic personality trait that he picked at the very beginning of the game, and it kept going. He kept going back to that. So the hook to me is when you boil off context and everything else about the character, what is kind of the very center of them, and the center of Magnus is Magnus rushes in without thinking. And so I kind of, whenever I put a character together, I try to think to myself, okay, if I take away everything else and I've distilled this character down to something elemental, like what is if I'm staring at like a 51-49 decision, what's going to tip them over to the edge? And I try to boil that down into a phrase, and then I kind of build out from there.
That's a really interesting way of doing it. See, I'd have almost commented the opposite way of when I'm teaching students, my job is to get them to come up with something that's really detailed and as fleshed out as possible. I say go the opposite way with character creation, because you're not writing a story or creating a piece of music. You're starting a story, and you're going to have all that growth and development through the game. So I think just have a few key things to roll with. For my personal characters, I don't even really write a backstory. I'll just go with a few things, give the DM a few ideas. Like, I tend to avoid the whole "my parents were killed by a mysterious stranger" thing, because it's done. And just say, okay, he has a dark secret. It's something to do with foxes. I don't know. Make it up as we go along. Bring it into the adventure, and that kind of keeps it compelling to me because then it's surprising me. I don't like turning up with a 12-page backstory anymore because what's there to discover? All I'm really trying to do is tell all the other people about the person I've made. Whereas I kind of want to discover this character along with them at the table. And I think that's just been a different approach I've taken the last 6 months that I've really enjoyed.
That's a good one too.
I'll kind of like split the difference between those two. I'll agonize over my character's backstory for a while, but I also don't want so much backstory that I am stuck with that character going forward. And I almost have to play it to the point where I'm making decisions that I don't want to. And so I try to avoid the whole trope. My parents were killed by, and all these dark. Usually speaking, it'll be one of those funny things. One of my Shadowrun characters was at work one night. He was a janitor, and runners came through, and they left him alive, even though they probably shouldn't have. And it was at that moment he realized, you know what? I'm tired of not being the guy with the gun, and that was his backstory into becoming a Shadowrunner.
Oh, that's cool.
That's
very cool.
Benjamin, I can't remember if it was you or somebody else that was on the show one time that was talking about how they had a character that have a tragic backstory. It was just like they had a totally normal upbringing, and so they were just kind of there for the adventure. I can't remember if that was you or somebody else, but
I mean, I tried to encourage the players on my show to not come up with like full tragic backstories. So most of their parents are alive. Most of them are not orphans. One of them is an orphan, but he's got siblings, right?
I can hear it. I can hear it.
and one I mean, one of the characters, like the most tragic part of his life, of his upbringing in this small town where they start, is the fact that he's the middle child in a family of 9. So he gets ignored a lot. That's it. That's the whole family hook. And then they go off on adventures together. But yeah, I wanted there to be family, and I try to always have family whenever I make characters, because it's fun to like write letters back to your family back home. It's like, oh, I just killed a beholder. It was the shit. It was awesome. That kind of thing.
Oh, it's also fun to make sure the parents get taken hostage, during your campaign or dropped off a cliff. Little things like that.
Oh, just
little things.
Yeah, but imagine if everyone else's character's parents are dead and you're just like, 1 minute, guys, gotta write to mom. Love you.
Sorry about your luck.
So glad you're still alive. XOXO.
Or you get a letter from your parents and it says, I know you're busy saving the kingdom, but we really need you to pick up some beets next time you're in the central city so that we can fertilize the farm or something. Like some menial nonsense.
Can you get some turnips for us? It's an Animal Crossing TTRPG.
Always got to throw the turnips in there.
I know. I think of all my. There's a couple of streams that I watch, and every so often somebody will be like, "Did anybody catch what the price of turnips was today?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, all right." Yeah, funny. So I guess, of course, I just had a question and it totally just went out of my mind. But yeah, what was I just gonna say? I'm looking at chat, and there's like, backstory, no Superman Batman backstories, please. There's a lot of debate about that. So yeah, well, chat, don't forget, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in chat, and we will make sure that we can get those answered for you guys. So let's see, I'm trying to think. Woo.
Oh no. Wolfsblood.
Wolfsblood. Oh no.
Yeah. He just disappeared.
And he's back. Hooray.
That wasn't awkward at all. Not awkward.
But you came back.
That was a weird power surge, right?
Yeah. The power surge.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hashtag blame Nate.
Hashtag blame Piper.
Oh. Piper is his cat. For those of you who don't know,
she is not a cat. She is not a cat. She's a trans-dimensional being. She has taken a cat form. She is not a cat.
Well, bring her on camera.
No,
Yes.
she has knives.
No.
Yeah, the cat is union. You actually have to pay her if you put her on camera.
It's true.
Right?
Yeah.
The problem
It's
is, though, is I have no idea what to pay her in because she won't eat wet food. She won't drink cream. She doesn't like fish. And her favorite toy is a piece of string.
Aww.
How about just
Her.
fear and
She's gonna
terror?
become an NPC. I've just realized this.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
Yeah, this is gonna happen.
that definitely should happen. We need
But
to have
as
a
a-
conversation. Mike, can she be a goblin? That would be hilarious. I want to see that happen.
I'm gonna drop her into the NPC channel. This is gonna
There
happen.
you go. Yes. Yeah, for those of you that watch the streams on How I Nerd, we have NPC channels in our Discord. So people can actually come up with they answer like 5 questions and they can come up with an NPC that may or may not make it into the storyline. It may not be immediately, but we now have we have Squee, who was part of our Tabletop Tavern 1. I believe he's also made it into Neural Nexus 0. And he started off as a goblin who was supposed to be around for 1 episode, and now we have the hashtag of Squee for president. The DM tried to kill Squee off, or debated killing Squee off at one point, and chat just about rioted. So
I was ready to quit.
that was pretty hardcore. They were like,
My
"You can't kill Squee!"
no, you can't. My ultimate fan conspiracy theory is that Squee is actually Desna,
Oh,
and that's going to be like a big reveal later.
I like that. I like that. Are there any NPCs that you guys have had in stories that like either your characters have really latched onto, or if you're streaming or anything like that your viewers or listeners have really latched onto?
Yeah, I had a character
Absolutely.
in season 2 who, trying to keep it spoiler free for people who haven't heard season 2.
Yeah.
The players get into a confrontation with a gang of thieves, and they spare the young boy and sort of try and turn him around and make him recant his ways. And that was one of those moments of scrabbling for what's his name. I guess I've got to put a personality on this person that was just supposed to be an encounter. And he ended up becoming quite an integral part of the plot. And that was hilarious that I'd sort of had the big twist at the end ready, and I hadn't known how to deliver it. I kind of figured, well, I'll figure it out as they get there. And then they just handed it to me on this golden platter by kind of making it relate in a way to this character. And that was just such an organic moment.
Actually, Luna, you brought him up. Captain
Oh,
Otam.
yeah. Captain Otam.
Otam was just supposed to be a quick one-off quest giver, but the listeners and the party like him so much that I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to bring him back at the end of the arc. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. And actually, a lot of the NPCs, because I do low prep.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of writing as I go. So a lot of the NPCs, I might start them out very basic with just sort of a really, really basic, interesting hook. And then as they get, say, more and more screen time, or as they get developed more often, I'll be like, well, I guess we're going to make them deeper. I guess we're going to make them deeper. I guess we're going to make them deeper. Oh, okay. They're now completely integral to the part, and I can't separate the plot from this NPC that I just sort of threw a name at.
Yeah.
So it happens a lot in my game, and actually, I think it's pretty magical because it keeps me on my toes.
Yeah, I think it's neat because you never know who people are going to get attached to or why. It was just really funny that like Squee just happened to be this goblin who had been banished from his tribe, and like 3 of the party members got like super attached to him. The chat got super attached to him. Yeah, it's just funny like how that happens, and suddenly now you've got to work them in every so often, or chat's like, hey, we haven't seen Squee in a while, So yeah.
What would the reaction be if in a few adventures time and people are saying, we haven't seen him in a while, and then you just come across his corpse by the side of the road, discarded?
Oh no.
See, look at how bad that
No.
reaction is. That's why you've got to do it. The dramatic tension, it's marvelous.
True.
I think
Yeah,
it's got to
this is the-
happen now.
Well,
This is the moment when chat explodes.
Yeah, right. I know.
Who's this British guy trying to kill all our NPCs?
It's time for a crusade. There you go. That's what would happen. Actually, it'll be interesting because we just completed a story arc with these characters, and they just set off for a new destination where it's very likely they won't see him for a while. So it'll be interesting to see if they come back to where they are and if he's still around when they come back. So who knows?
And if he ends up being just another corpse in the woods,
You're welcome.
I would hate to see Gunner if that happened. Holy moly. Gunner is like a 7-foot tall barbarian.
But it's the old narrative trick, isn't it? If you manage to trick people into loving something, then you've got to pull them through the ringer to keep them invested in it. I mean, not repeatedly, because that's a cheap trick, but just once or twice, you've got to give them that genuine, heart-wrenching moment.
Mm-hmm.
Squee is going to end up being the lowest lane of tabletop.
Oh my gosh, that would be funny. I can't even imagine that. So one of the questions that always comes up, and I have to admit I'm surprised nobody's asked it yet, so I'm going to throw it out there. What is a system that you guys really like or that you've always wanted to try?
I don't think there's any one particular one that I've heard of that made me want to go, oh, I really want to try that. I've played was playing D&D 2nd edition, skip from there to 5th edition, like you know that, Luna. So it was the same. So in order to take a break from D&D, we played Shadowrun, which is worlds apart. And I felt like that those were two extreme differences, but it seemed to take the place of me. I didn't feel like I needed anything at the time, but now there's so many new amazing things coming out.
No.
Just, I don't know.
I think Star Trek Adventures for me, definitely. That looks awesome. Star Trek Adventures. I'm a huge Trekkie, so that looks great. And Pathfinder 2e, which I just bought all the books for and haven't got a chance to playing yet. Both look awesome.
I've heard that Pathfinder 2e is really good. The people that I know that have played it really like it. I'd like to try that. I'd also like to try Shadowrun because I've never tried that. I would also really like to try a World of Darkness campaign and a Blades in the Dark campaign.
A lot of fun.
Never done any of those, so those all sound very cool to me.
I'd be down for Blades in the Dark. I also, I'm really into take big complicated system like D&D or Shadowrun, but simplify. So I'd really be interested in playing Shadowrun Anarchy. And I just got the books for Quest, which has kind of interested me in the last couple of weeks, given all the all the discourse going on. I was like, I should probably check this out and see if it really lives up to it. So I'm going to give that a crack.
Nice.
If you haven't played Shadowrun, that is definitely one to get a campaign for.
Oh, Shadowrun is so good, but it takes 2 sessions to build your characters. It is so complicated.
Why are you saying this like a bad thing?
I know, it's like really fun, but also like, oh.
The battles in Shadowrun only in real time are like 2 sessions, 6 hours or something ridiculous, and that's covered about 10 seconds of fighting.
Yeah.
If you the best way to run Shadowrun is to memorize about half the rules and then just figure it the hell out as you go without opening the book again, because there are rules for everything, but there really don't need to be.
What
I have to agree with that. Yeah.
I know a lot of DMs keep the falling rocks in their back pocket, so when the party starts acting up, you can just throw rocks on them and they die. Shadowrun, it was monofilament wire.
Oh yeah.
I was playing a dwarven rigger, and the rest of the party had pretty well pissed off our GM that night. So we're exfilling from a run. I'm sitting in the back seat, and I'm a dwarf, so I'm not even like above the seat level. And as we were driving down the alley, apparently somebody had strung up a piece of monofilament wire at head level, straight to the car.
Oh no!
I was the only one that lived.
Oh no!
Holy shit.
Oh my god.
And so I
Short
called.
sometimes has its advantages.
I called
That's
Mr. Johnson.
brutal.
He's like, "How'd the run go?" I said, "Well, I came out ahead, and
Oh.
all the cash."
You got to use it.
Yes, I did.
That's amazing.
And actually,
It's terrible and amazing.
Oh my god, there's so many ways for the GM to mess with players on Shadowrun, and it's always like, we took this job, but we don't know if it's the right thing to do because it might be really bad. And there's like 4 other factions over here who are saying that that we're doing a job for somebody who's really evil, but then this person ends up, there's too many twists and turns, and you have no idea where it's going to go or what side you're on.
Yep.
So you just have to be on your own side. I just want some money, and then I'm done.
I don't think I've run a campaign with clear good guys for a decade or two. So my players that play with me often, they refer to my typical trope as quote, everyone is bad guys, because invariably if they find a character or a faction that they like that's good, I will reveal that they're up to some nasty, and then they're gonna be like, no, now we hate them too.
They're slave traders.
Yeah.
Why?
Why? Well, because you liked them too much.
I'm That's
sorry.
just mean.
GM giveth, GM taketh away.
Right? Jeez.
See, but that's sometimes okay because I can forgive quite a bit.
In Shadowrun, more
Oh,
is
yeah,
forgivable
definitely in
for
Shadowrun,
sure.
What about the slow turn to evil, where they start off really good and they are really good, and your players really buy in. They're like, yeah, finally we've got some good guys, and then they just make, oh, can you just do this one thing that's a bit morally questionable, but it's for a really good reason, and then just lead them down the road, and then about 10 quests later they turn around and go, are we the bad guys now? That's a cool moment.
I've done that before, and it worked exactly the way you said it. And I have one player who still plays with me who's still mad about it. It was
Oh man.
Why did you make me become evil? I liked it.
I had teams that went on like killing sprees because we thought we were doing something good. And then we were like, what? No, they were all just innocent people. And
That's the best moment as a DM, because you can turn around and say, well, it was always your choice. You always had the information. You just didn't question it.
you could have checked.
That's it. You all are making me paranoid as a player now.
that's why I like the beginning of She-Ra,
Which one?
the new one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Had to clarify that one. I one time, just speaking of She-Ra, I one time made a paladin that was based on the original 1980s She-Ra, and that lasted 20 minutes before I went, I can't do this. This is way too like goody two shoes for me.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think a good DM should make you paranoid every time you come up to the table. I think you should walk into the game being paranoid about what is going to happen.
I think
Absolutely.
that's why one of my DMs, he has a cup that says, if I'm smiling, it's too late.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you sell that cup at your store? Do you have that
No,
cup?
no.
Okay.
I don't know where he got it, but it's amazing. Because we look at it and go, it's so true.
I can tell you where you can get that cup from after the stream.
Okay.
Yeah, it's true. I had a DM one time, and this is why I will never have a character that runs up to a sarcophagus. One time I was playing a character that was the only one strong enough to open a sarcophagus that was in the room. And so I opened the sarcophagus, and out popped a vampire who cast Slay Living, and I was dead. And that was not fun. And my ex-husband slept on the couch that night. It was like a table flip moment for me. I like about rage quit. I was so mad about the whole thing.
I just
So-
pictured that.
Yeah.
Luna flipping a table.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. I still joke to this day. I say as a joke that was part of the grounds for our divorce, but you know.
Have you used the door trick as a DM? It's one of my favorite. So you take any mundane item or action that they do all the time. Just every now and then, throw in a. So the door's an example. Like, okay, we're going to walk through the door. You're walking through the door. Can you just describe how you do that, please? It's just the fear that goes across their face. It is a
They're going to take
glorious
a half an
moment.
hour to go through that door now.
Yep.
But then
I
the
check your
joy when it
tricks.
opens and you
Tricky
say,
stretch.
it's a door.
Yeah.
The joy when they just walk through and you can just say, oh, it's just a door you walk through. I was just checking.
Yeah.
And then on the fourth time, mimic. Every time.
Yeah.
You only get to use one mimic a campaign, though. And then after you use that mimic, you have to tell them, okay, no more mimics for the rest of the campaign, or like you just lengthened your campaign by like 10x, because they're going to stop at everything and check it. And it's going to be you're, like, they're going to wear you down before you wear them down.
Unless you do the Dark Souls 3 thing of having the one mimic early on, and then they get paranoid and check things, and then they forget, and then you put 3 in a row, and that messes with them.
Oh.
That is diabolical.
Yeah, my players love my campaigns.
I can see all the DMs now writing down notes.
We were running a BattleTech campaign, and it was one of those where we had started off, and it was basically big stompy robots going out on the field, shooting other big stompy robots. And then we started bringing in more of the RP, more of the playing as your pilot, this, that, and the other. And so it became more, I want to keep this character alive. And then we were out, and we were having a good time. We were smashing through the robots. We were going through the city and tumbling over buildings to get at them, blah, blah, blah. And that's when they started to see the corpses. And they realized at that moment that they were stomping through a civilian populated town.
Ooh.
Oh,
no.
Yeah.
Oh, you spec ops them.
And that look, just what I saw here was exactly what we saw at the table.
Oh, no.
Oh, and then all of a sudden they're like, all right, so if I shoot here, if I miss, what? And it was just that all of a sudden, wait a minute, it's not just about big stompy robots now. And it started to get that moral sense of, is this what we should be doing right now? And it was great. They started charging more for urban warfare.
oh my gosh.
Wow. That's,
Smart, actually.
I like that, because that's exactly what would happen.
Yeah, war crimes.
War crimes. I know, I just saw that too.
We charge more for war crimes.
Pyrotechs don't ever change. Oh my gosh, that's funny. So I'm gonna throw a question out, and I know that at least 2 people here have been asked this question previously. Well, I know for a fact one person has. I'm assuming the other one has as well. But I'm gonna ask it anyway because I like the question. What does the phrase "it's what my character would do" mean to you? Speaking of war crimes.
That's loaded. That's a fully loaded potato right there.
Well, how about this? We will take a break and we can answer it when we come back.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be back in like 5 to 7.5.48 seconds, something like that. And we will. I'm gonna throw a poll up in just a second for chat. In the meantime, we will let our guests refill their drinks, use the restrooms, all that good stuff, and we will be back very shortly. So we'll see you in a bit. Back now. I have no idea if that means that we're live right now or not, but
Well, and what that means is that's when I
think we
started to lead the gorilla out of the bar.
right?
Oh, hey.
And we're back. Okay, so we are back from break, and I'm wondering if our guests were able to give any thought to the question that was posed right beforehand. which is, what does the phrase "it's what my character would do" to you?
It goes one of two ways, doesn't it? It's either after a ridiculous moment that's so hilarious that it just causes everyone to break down, in which case, fine. Or it's going to be after a moment that's possibly going to require some discussion out of game. I don't think it's something that ever inspires confidence in me when a player says it.
It's definitely something that you say after you've done something that might make some of the other characters mad, or other people at the table in real life mad, like maybe endangering the party, or I don't know. I haven't used those. Well, except when I do something really stupid, funny, I'll say, "Oh, what my character would do." But I don't think I've ever done something that made everybody angry at me and had to say that. I know other people who have, though.
Yeah,
Now I know one more person who has.
My visceral reaction is it's someone responding, basically saying, "Please forgive me for indulging my power fantasy," and throwing everything off. Like it's usually like, it's what my character would do. It's actually, no, this is what I would do if I was in Skyrim, and quick save really quick just to see what would happen.
Pretty much, yeah.
Have you ever used that during one of your campaigns where you're just like, hold on here, time out, quick save, and then let's do this really silly thing and see what happens, and then pick it up from there? Have you guys ever done that one?
I
No.
did in a local game. It was a long time ago, but yeah, we did it once.
I guess it kind of happened for us one time. It was almost a TPK at the end of the night, and when we came back the next week, our DM said, "We're having a Scooby-Doo do-over," because he was like, "I think I played that wrong, and you guys were being idiots. So we'll try that again."
I think that'd be fun, almost as a mechanic, right? Like if the party had, if the party could vote and they all voted, "Hey, we're going to quick save and do this stupid thing," and then get the option to go back to this quick save, that'd be kind of a fun mechanic to sort of open things up and screw around. I don't know if I would do it in a serious campaign, because in a serious campaign, I want them to, if they do something stupid, I feel like they should have to deal with the consequences of it.
See, we've used it before, even in a serious campaign, in those moments when someone in the party did that thing that nobody ever thought could possibly happen. And so the DM is just sitting there going, I have no idea how this is supposed to work. You know, let's roll with it and see what happens. If we need to, we'll come back and just start over again.
Yeah.
And see if we can actually finish out what that line ended up being, because all of a sudden it's like, so you go through the door. No, I don't go through the door. What do you mean? I blow open the door with 87 pounds of C4.
That's one too many pounds.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you're taking out the entire floor at this point. I'm not sure. All right, let's roll with it.
Let's see what happens.
It's what my character would do.
It's what my character would do. I was explaining, so the person that was posing this question the other day when I was with them, I said to them after the fact, I said, I generally see two immediate responses to that question. From people who are primarily players, they go, "Oh," and then they get into this explanation of like their character and blah, blah, blah. And from DMs, you see, "Oh." It's like, I hate it when people say that. It's like this very distinct difference between the two.
I don't know. It's not a get out of jail free card, right? Because a lot of times when they do something ridiculous like that, it isn't what their character would do, because if it was what their character would do, they wouldn't have to say it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. That makes sense.
The other one,
It always feels...
What's that?
No, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, the other time that I do hear that a lot is if you're dealing with players that are trying to play the low intelligence character, and they almost kind of use it as an excuse to do just really dumb and oftentimes non-self-preservation items. It's like, dude, I know you're playing a lower intelligence, but you still want to live tomorrow.
Yeah.
You're still, you're still a sentient being. You still
Right.
have thoughts. You're self-aware.
I'm going to go up and lick the red dragon. Not so sure about that.
Probably not.
I mean, I've like told players what the presumptive consequence of their actions could be. If you think about it in the real world, if you walk off a cliff, you know that walking off a cliff is going to cause you to fall off a cliff. Therefore, in a fantasy world, attempting to lick a red dragon is going to result in the red dragon eating you head first. And so sometimes I'll try to get ahead of it and be like, I'm just going to tell you straight up, like common sense check. Like if you do that, this result is very likely and it's not going to go great.
I won't warn my players at all, which I know sounds pretty mean, which is unusual based on everything else I've said tonight. But I really believe in you learn through your mistakes. And because I think exactly what you said, you've bought into this role play that we're in this world, and I've hopefully established the rules of the world and what's happening. If you think you can go and lick a red dragon, certainly you can try. We'll see what happens. That's your choice as a player. I'm not going to take any agency away from your choice, but every choice comes with a consequence. And I found that with one group of players I played with, that's led to them making better decisions because they've moved away from the wouldn't it be funny if we did this, and towards really great role play, and they've just improved massively, and that's actually been really rewarding. So I quite like the Dark Souls-esque punishing. No, you get no warning. You're in the world. Live with it.
Sort of like what Mike was doing for early tabletop tavern players
Yeah.
who weren't quite sure what was happening. They did get training wheels.
Before the training wheels came off, man.
Yep.
And
I think that's important.
That was nice too. I mean, so like I wasn't new to TTRPGs, but I was new to the Pathfinder system, which I find is fairly similar to 3.5. So it wasn't a very hard transition for me, because 3.5 is what I learned. That was the first thing I ever played. But for some people, it was like TTRPGs were brand new, like they had never done one before. So everything about it was new, the whole mechanic, the whole idea behind how to cast spells, everything. So we sort of needed that for a lot of reasons, but it was really helpful, I think, because now it's at the point where, all right, yeah, we're far enough along in the story and we're high enough level at this point that we can, if we make these mistakes, it's probably our own fault. So
Or if you're not taking your bonuses like sneak attack.
hey, I'm going to throw this out there, and it's a little bit of advertising while we're at it. I just recently ordered something that's going to help me with that. I ordered the sneak attack tracker from Arcane Spectacles. It should be here on Monday. I'm very excited. So I will have I really have no reason to forget my sneak attack anyway. It's on a post-it note stuck to my monitor, and I still forget. But also, I would like to throw out there for anybody who's interested, we now have a partnership with Arcane Spectacles. So if you would like to order any products from them, if you use code HowINerd at checkout, you will get 10% off your order. So that is very exciting.
Nice.
Yes. We want to make sure that people are able to use that. They've got some exciting stuff coming down the pike. And oh, thank you for dropping that in chat, Wolfsblood, by the way. That's their Etsy shop. If you want to go check that out. And see what they've got. They've got some really cool like spell trackers. Most of them are D&D. They could be used for Pathfinder, but they're working on sort of expanding, what they have available. They just released a paladin spell tracker, so that's kind of cool. Yeah. So anyway, there's my little bit of advertising for them for the night. So I promised them that I would make sure everybody knew that was out as well too.
Luna, you know how else you could keep track of something like that?
How?
Ooh,
Look
that's
at
pretty.
that.
Wow. Okay.
What the hell?
That's the journal I want for my birthday.
It's leather. You see that it's like all worked, and that's the journal that Luna wants in my shop.
I know, it's gorgeous. She's got really cool stuff in her shop. So yeah, definitely check out her shop too. So
Sorry, I just had to tease you since you mentioned it. I couldn't help myself.
No, I'm glad that you did. Because absolutely we want people to check out the cool stuff that our folks here are doing. Yeah. And before the end of the show, honestly, you guys will all get a chance to kind of plug anything that you've got coming up.
I didn't mean that as a plug. I just was teasing you.
No, it's totally fine.
We're doing the shopping network here on HowINerd.
I know.
This beautiful dragon eye journal.
Anybody else have something? I have other stuff I can show.
I mean, I could like show off. No, because I'm not selling anything right
This
now.
is giving me a headache.
I could show off my dice holder, but that's from Wormwood Gaming, so that won't help. All right. So we've gotten a couple other questions. Let's see. Amanda wanted to know. Well, she has posted 2 questions, so I'm going to start with the first one. The first one is, how did you all actually? No, let me put it the way she said it. How did y'all get involved with or start with TTRPGs?
Mine's weird. Can I start?
Go for it.
I was 13 years old. We had just gotten dial-up internet, and internet relay chat, IRC, was a thing. Oh, baby. And instead of being a 13-year-old unsupervised on the internet looking up lascivious things, I stumbled into role-playing text chat rooms with full bot-assisted homebrew systems based on Dragon Ball Z, various animes, that kind of thing. And I got hooked, having never seen an anime or Dragon Ball Z. They just let me play whatever dumb 13-year-old homebrew characters I thought of, and they put up with me probably because I was a little boy. And I probably played in those for about 5 years, and then that was my gateway into the Dungeons and Dragons, and it's been downhill ever since, honestly.
You heard it here first, folks. IRC gateway drug.
With me, it was actually my oldest brother. My oldest brother started playing Dungeons and Dragons, the very first one. And
dice you had to put together yourself.
Dice you had to put together yourself. When you had to do algebra and trigonometry, so you could calculate THACO and be able to hit this in squares and everything else. And I actually stumbled across his player's handbook and started reading it, and then found out that this was a thing. More importantly, it was a thing that really made people, this is back during what do they call
Satanic Panic.
Yeah, Satanic Panic.
Yeah. 80s.
And so I was like, hey, this is something I should be doing. And that's how I ended up.
It makes everybody upset. I want to do it.
I want to terrify the living crap out of people.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and so I got into it and started playing. I started playing with Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. It was my first campaigns, and then it expanded out from there.
That's where I started too.
Yeah.
Yeah, AD&D, and I mean that was bad enough, THACO and all that stuff. Like, you had to really think hard when you were leveling up. You were going, what does that mean? You're looking stuff up now.
THACO table was page 127 in the PHP, if I remember correctly.
I could actually go get the book and show you.
I wish I still had mine.
We didn't stop playing that long ago. Like I said, I was playing 2nd edition right up until about 3 years ago, and then we jumped into 5th.
Oh, wow. That's a hell of a jump.
Yeah, I went 3.5 to 5. So
yeah, me too.
Especially after playing for 30 years or something. It was a long time.
Candlous, how'd you get into TTRPG?
Well, it all started in high school. And I had asked some of my friends played D&D, and I said, like, what's it all about? And they said, well, there's math. And I said, well, I'm out. Can't do it.
That's
And then a
fair.
few years later, I was like, run by that D&D thing with me again, and it turned out to be exceptionally all what I was about, and they just did the math for me.
Yay,
Nice.
friends that will do math for you.
That's the
Always
best kind of
find a
people to
friend.
have in your life.
Yeah, that's right.
My
And
first campaign that I
calculators.
ever run, I had a co-DM because I couldn't handle the system, but I could handle the story.
Yeah,
So I know where you're
exactly.
at. Like I'm feeling you
Yeah.
right now.
It's like, oh, I love storytelling. I love this. This is exactly what I'm about to. What do you mean? What do you have to roll again?
Yeah.
If you have the right people, that's fine. They'll just say, "Oh, you just need to roll that." And I've never played with anybody who wouldn't be totally, "Oh, that's okay. Just roll a 20-sided. You're good." Look over your shoulder, do all your adding for you.
Yeah, it's so
Thank
great to
you.
have groups like that.
Yeah.
It was really boring for me, sadly. I think we bought the starter kit a decade ago, which I'm guessing was 4E, and horrendously failed at it with some friends for one night, and then put it back in the garage and went, guess that was that. That wasn't as good as I remember. And then 18 months ago, or 2 years ago, I thought, I kind of really want to get into it again. I can't remember what had been on. I think I'd listened to a podcast of some people discussing it. And because I grew up in a town where they could sort of read, but there's that classic Bill Hicks joke of what you're reading for, and it is very much that kind of town. Except for them, we were pariahs for liking anything nerdy because it was the 90s, but we liked video games and rock music, and that was okay. Anything outside of that very narrow boundary, and you weren't even cool in the nerd world. And so me being like, I like fantasy books was not something to shout about. So I missed it all through my teens and 20s. And then it wasn't until my 30s that I thought, actually, I want to give it a go. And I listened to the How Friends Roll podcast, just got randomly recommended when I had to go and drive see my brother. And because the first season they had non-experienced players on, he explained the rules, and that really resonated with me. And I thought, actually, this sounds manageable. And so I decided to start a podcast, and I learnt to DM for season 1. And that was actually my first time DMing. And that was like 18 months ago, although we started recording about 12 months ago. And it's all just kind of snowballed from there, really.
Oh my God. That is awesome.
Bit by the seat of the pants, but...
Yeah, mine was also a less than exciting story, but it was entertaining to me. My ex-husband had been playing with a group of our friends at home, and my daughter had like just been born, so we're talking like they started like, I don't know, the September right before she was born, so around the time that she was like a newborn, like I'm like, well, somebody has to watch the baby, so he's busy playing that D&D thing. And then I would, as she was getting a little bit older, it was like, okay, she's down for the night, she's sleeping. And so like I would be like, first I was in my bedroom, and then I'd be like hearing them at the table, and then I'd be like, okay, well, maybe I'll sit in the living room now and I can kind of hear what's going on. And then it was like finally just like, all right, clear seat, like I'm coming in. Like that's how this is gonna go. So but it was, for me, it was one of those things like I sort of knew what it was by way of knowing people that played Magic when I was in like middle school and high school. Um but I never got into that, and nobody in my family is a nerd. Like nobody. Like my parents can't even sit through Star Wars, like nothing. Um
I know.
so so it was
Like
really
my eyes
funny that
almost popped out of my head. What?
I know. I know. My parents have never sat through the original trilogy. I made the horrible mistake of trying to make my parents watch Ready Player One the other day. That was a disaster. Um,
Aww.
and it was really funny because like once I sort of like got to learn what D&D was all about, I'm like, why was I not playing this 20 years ago? Like
Yep.
this is something I totally would have been into at that point, but
Mhm.
I just hadn't found my people yet. So yeah.
That's the thing, right? Finding your people, even more
Yeah.
so than the game. And my
So
story's too soppy, so I'm not going to tell it.
well, what
You've
ended up
heard.
being really really funny with our table, speaking of just finding your people, is so my best friend, who's incidentally going to be on the show next week because I'm like, you have to come on this show. She and I met in a Facebook group for fans of the Dragon Age video game franchise. And it was like one of those random conversations where somebody was like, oh man, we're having a snowstorm here. And so I'm playing Dragon Age for the 18,000th time. And she and I happened to discover that we only lived about an hour apart. And so we just got to chatting. And next thing you know, like 6 months later, I'm like, hey, have you ever played D&D? And she was like, no. And I'm like, you want to try? And she's like, okay. So she comes over, drives an hour, comes over, joins the D&D game, having never played, got totally hooked. Long story short, that following December, she comes to like our super geeky, nerdy Christmas party. She meets her future husband at my house in my living room.
Oh,
Wow.
They're
That's
now
so
married
lovely.
with a 4-year-old and live a mile down the road. So,
Oh no, I love it.
Holy. Wow.
So
this
lovely.
is beautiful.
yep. So,
That is a
Although,
story.
can I just say that would never have happened in England? Because one thing I like about our distances and the way we treat them is that I know in the States and stuff like an hour's nothing, but here we're like an hour away.
yeah.
No, I guess I'll see them again in 30 years.
Yeah, it's true because it's like now. So now it's funny because I actually commute from the town that I lived in this. I've lived in the same town the whole time, but I have to commute to the town that she was living in at the time. And so now I'm like, oh my God, it's an hour away. Like this is the worst commute ever. So, but now I just listen to podcasts when I do it. So
That's my thing
Exactly.
too. I have an hour commute, and that's where I catch up on my podcasts. I'm listening to Resting Glitch Face right now.
Ooh,
Shout
cool.
out, but that's very good. Yeah, actually, so back to the IRC chat room.
Yeah.
One of the people I met in that very chat room, he and I played together for I think 10 years, and we are still like really close friends that catch up. And
That's
that's
awesome.
been
Yep.
22 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my best friend's mom will tell, like, you know, when I first met her mom, she like pulled me into like one of those big mom hugs and was like, thank you so much for introducing my daughter to her people. And I was like, that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. So, yeah. Yeah, it was really cool.
For sure.
Well, and on a lighter note, Amanda had another follow-up question. Do you guys have a traditional or ritual snack or drink for sessions? Mine used to be 2 cans of Red Bull every session. I have since weaned myself off. That was Manda, not me. I
Wow.
don't drink energy drinks, so.
Yeah, kill the dragon. Kill it. Kill it.
Oh my gosh.
Mine is molasses cookies.
I love
Ooh,
molasses.
yum.
I know
Ooh.
everyone does. They're a
I
fan
love
favorite.
molasses. So
Yeah.
good.
Well, I'm intrigued. I've never heard of them.
Never
Real
had
ale.
molasses cookies?
No,
You've got
molasses,
to.
like, that's just tree sap, right? Isn't that the tree sap?
I don't know. Where do molasses come from?
Kinda.
You know what? I don't know.
It's burnt tree sap, basically.
Think like
Thank you,
the
kindly.
flavor of gingerbread cookies, but like really, really soft and buttery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a savoury guy more than a sweet at all. So, yeah, for me, it's got to be like something meaty and salty and a real ale, which I know is ridiculously pretentious and a bit close for type for a D&D player. But yeah, savoury, like a sausage roll, is the absolute peak perfection, and a real ale.
Mm.
It would
My
be
table-
oh, just to clarify, you would probably know it as treacle.
That makes a lot of sense, right? Okay. Ooh, treacle on a biscuit, crazy.
It's actually really tasty.
I like
My-
pepperoni sticks.
Ooh.
That's usually my go-to.
No snacks at the table for us. My table, however, is desperate to get an Angry Orchard sponsorship because that's all we drink while we play.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah. So we've shouted Angry Orchard out several times, and but that's yes. Usually 2 or 3 people from the table will show up with a 6-pack of Angry Orchard each, and that's what we drink for the entire session. And it's lovely because I don't like ciders. I'm more of a stout and porter guy, but for some reason at the table, that's all I want is a nice cider.
Nice.
I know
Chat's
back when we
saying,
had
yeah.
our when we had our big tables, it was platters of pizza rolls, bags of Cheetos, and then
Nice.
cases of Mountain Dew. That's today, not so much. Today, I have to, it's a little bit healthier with the stuff and the things. This is what happens when you become an old gamer. You have to turn in the Cheetos for like nuts.
Not Cheetos.
Not Cheetos, yeah.
Our table is usually pretty consistent with most of us actually. Well, when I'm playing locally, I can't speak for the group that I'm playing with online, but when I'm playing at the table, my local group is usually, most of us actually drink water, or seltzer water, and then I tend to gravitate to traditional Twizzlers, and yeah, we usually have like a lot of it kind of the same thing. Like we have like one bag of some kind of candy, and then we have like grapes and cut up watermelon and stuff like that. So, it's like, oh yeah, crap, we're getting old.
Celery and
Also,
hummus.
it's like we have like
Celery and hummus.
yeah.
It's a sign of age.
Actually,
It's delicious. That's how they get you, because you
That
say it to like a
sounds amazing.
14-year-old and they're like, oh, but you say it to people in their 30s, they're like, oh, actually,
That's
I could
really
go for
good.
that.
I'd
You
love
can
to
flip
sock
flop
them
those
up.
numbers around. I'm still though. I can't do hummus. Oh,
Chocolate hummus.
why?
It's delicious.
Is it?
Yep.
I can
Wouldn't
just
that
hear
be
the
like
wait. Can you hear
smearing
that? That's the
garlic?
entire Middle East just crying in pain.
I do
Might
like
as well-
traditional hummus, but yeah, the chocolate hummus, I actually got my daughter to eat hummus that way. So
I can't even imagine. I can't even.
No, can't think of it.
Only in America. That's all I can say about that.
I mean, I don't want to judge. I recently, I ended up in hospital like a couple of years ago for something, and I ended up having to eat like really high protein food, and I somehow stumbled across fried egg and peanut butter pita breads, which
what?
Ooh.
right now it sounds disgusting. That's exactly not my kind of thing. In fact, when I made it, and I'm sure this was supposed to be a compliment, my wife turned around and went, "Have you been watching American cooking shows again?" And swear to God, it's one of the tastiest things I've ever eaten. Like with a runny yolk, it's
Oh.
perfect.
Yeah, you can't beat stuff that Americans make and come up with. I mean, some of it is absolutely amazing, but some of it
So-
is terrifyingly, when you deep fried stuff wrapped up in this and deep fry it, you're like, okay, that
So
sounds delicious. But
I probably shouldn't mention that I had a cheeseburger that was, the buns were grilled cheese sandwiches before.
It's delicious.
So
Perfect.
good.
I'm from Iowa, the inventor of fried butter. You can't scare me.
Right there. It ain't a county fair unless you got deep fried butter, deep fried Oreos, deep fried Twinkies.
Oh man.
I think this is why Americans like Scotland so much, because Scotland's the inventor of the deep fried Mars bar, which is essentially a chocolate candy, which is nice. It's just like nougat and caramel and chocolate.
oh, Mars bars
Yeah.
are so good.
Yeah, they are. I
Deep
will
fried.
say that the UK and most of Europe has way better chocolate than anything we can get here. Way better.
100%.
True. I think it's because there's less sugar, just less sugar. Because I've got family over in Philly who come over every now and then, and like I love seeing them. They always bring us like amazing American snacks, and I just think it's obviously using. So there's a lot more lax food laws in America about processing and things. Like we notice it a lot. We're terrified about that at the moment because we just gave up all our rights to food laws. So weird. Like there's a big trade thing, and them saying we're going to adopt American things, and all the British people going, "What? No, why?"
What?
No, don't. Do not recommend.
I love American food. Don't get me wrong, but I really like EU and health and safety regulations. They're amazing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mm.
That is fair.
That may have kept me from having my peanut butter and tuna fish sandwiches growing up. I love the looks every time I say that.
What?
What are you, pregnant? Like,
I'm
Who
not
hurt
sure we
you?
can be friends anymore.
I kid you
Did you
not,
say
man. This is
butter
how
tuna?
I said it. Yes. So you make your tuna, you make your tuna salad like you always do. Tuna out of the can, a little bit of mayo. Like we did hard-boiled eggs, relish, mix that all up, slap it on the bread. Other slice of bread, you slap the peanut butter on there, and
Are you being held hostage? Just blink. We'll send help.
Oh my gosh. Yes,
Man,
he's being
I
held
grew
hostage
up
by his cat. Oh my
Like the mad thing is, that sounds so bad. I kind of need to try it now, though, just to see how bad it is.
So, Johnny Quaman from chat would like to know what your favorite American food is.
Oh God, it's so stereotypical to say a cheeseburger. But the thing is, growing up here over in Europe in the 90s, there was like the mad cow scare. We did not have beef for 10 years. Just like growing up, it was never on the menu.
Wow.
Yeah, not at all. So when we got fancy burger places appearing, it was really exciting. 90s, when I think back, was just American TV, American cartoons, American video games, and American bands. And so for us, like an opportunity to get at that subculture was so exciting that stuff that's probably really tame and boring to you guys is still kind of exciting to us. So I live in rural Sussex by the sea, and it's basically like a Pride and Prejudice novel. And like 35 minutes up the road, there's a diner, like a faux American diner, and it's the most exciting thing to drive up there. And we get milkshakes. Like we didn't have milkshakes growing up. That's an American thing.
Oh, yeah.
And so just kind of really basic stuff is just off the charts exciting to me.
See, and most Americans don't know about the fact that for so long, mad cow was a huge thing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we still have to get asked about it now. I was having some tests recently in the hospital, and they said we just got to ask, have you exhibited any signs of CJD, which is the actual term for it? And I said, has that been a thing for like 20 years? They said actually it can lie dormant for like 50 years or something, so we have to keep on asking for it. Like,
It's the reason why
wow,
I can't give blood anymore.
oh,
It's
wow.
really?
because I lived in Germany during the late 80s, right during the height of the mad cow crisis.
Mm.
And so now I can't even give blood anymore because potentially it may be in my brain, and but I don't have any symptoms whatsoever. So I'm not sure what's going on.
This is now an educational stream, folks. There you go. You've learned something tonight.
I'm like taking this all for granted because my in-laws gave my wife and I half a cow for Christmas one year. So we've just got cow in our freezer in the basement. So whenever I want to bust out a quarter pound of good old American chuck and throw it on the grill, I just go on down, thaw her out, and slap it on. It's good.
That's fantastic. All
My
right.
wife was really ragging on me because I got really into Aaron Franklin's barbecue show on Masterclass. And I
Ooh.
keep saying like, oh man, we got to buy like a slow barbecue thing. And she's like, no, this is ridiculous. But why are you so into this?
Oh,
Because
man.
it looks
Wolfsblood
incredible.
will tell you why you need to learn how to cook barbecue.
Be real careful about talking barbecue to the wrong American the wrong way, because we get violent about that.
Oh, I've seen like barbecue pitmasters. That stuff's off the wall.
We call that
when
being
I
taken.
when I went to school in what is known as Canada's potato province.
Oh,
Because
PEI.
most of the potatoes are PEI potatoes. Okay, when I went to my school, actually had the Cavendish potato plant attached to it, and the students would get paid $50 a session to go and eat potatoes and tell them like that was good or that was bad.
Wow.
Yeah, it was an exceptional job that I took many advantages of.
Potato fields as far as the eye can see over there. Everywhere.
And you can just see them
Yeah.
forever because it's all flat.
That's where I went on my honeymoon, actually,
Really?
was PEI. Yeah, we went to Cavendish.
That's a lot of fun.
Sure it is. Actually, no, we had a great trip. All right, I'm gonna bring this back full circle. I got a message from Manda, who had a few questions that she sent them to me during break. So one of the questions that she had, and this will probably be the last one we get to because we'll need to wrap up shortly. We're like 15 minutes from end time. One of her questions was, describe a moment where you felt like a hero in a game, and what did think about it. I mean, I can think of one for me, so.
I recently, and this is fresh in my head because I still don't know what has happened to this character at this point because we decided to take a break from the story for a while. I have a character named Ufir, a black dragonborn barbarian. We're in Ravenloft, and the Dark Riders were coming after us. There was 3 of them, and they had the chains, and they were trying to grab a hold of us and take us away. And all I had next to me was my little halfling friend. And so I just kept screaming, run, run, and like swinging my axe around and doing my best to keep them at bay. And the halfling was going, no, I was like, somebody has to live and tell the others, run. And they got me down to 0 and took me. Don't know where I am. Because
Oh my God.
my GM said,
that's great.
okay, let's take a break. I was like, what? No. Rude.
Wow.
You know you
So
did
I
it right when the
really
GM's
rude.
like, break time.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm out. Yeah.
Because everybody else is like, no, we need to know, we need to get Ufir back and what's going on. And he was like, no. It is shivery because I love her. I love her a lot.
Mine is most people, anybody who watches our channel and has been watching the original Tabletop Tavern probably knows where I'm going with this. My favorite one was the episode where Yeetabrix was born. For anybody who doesn't know, my halfling's name is Yeetabrix. And there was an episode where it was still really early on in the campaign, and Mike, the DM, is always like, I just want you guys to go for it. Like, just take that chance, do the thing that you want your character to try to do, that sort of thing. And so we're in this area where there's like a staging area that's, like 5 feet up off the ground. And then there's an enemy that's flying another 5 feet above that. And so I look at my character sheet and I'm like, my acrobatics is fairly high. Let's see if this works. So I run up to the stage. I jump up from the floor onto the stage and then jump from the stage up into the air. And I roll high enough to get up onto the stage. No problem. I roll high enough. I get up into the air. Absolutely no problem. And I wanted to jump up and try to attack with my short sword. So like I run and it was great because like everybody was like, oh my God, is she going to do it? And, I make the jump onto the stage. I make the jump up into the air. I swing with my short sword and I miss completely. I rolled like a 4. And it was like, oh no. And then I had like some really epic landing, So it was like this really cool thing, but it sort of was her defining moment because now that's like something she does regularly. Like she's known for like parkouring off walls and jumping off of somebody else's shield and stuff, because she's little and she can do that, and she's got like a +8 to her acrobatics or something, so why not give it a try?
Of course.
I don't have one that jumps out to me as particularly heroic for any of my characters, but for a home campaign that I ran for 2 years about a decade ago, in the very final battle against the very final BBEG, I had set up an impossible encounter, which was like there was this like super powerful sword, and it was the quote original Holy Avenger, and there was this like super evil dude whose soul inhabited the sword. So if you killed the dude, his soul would just go back into the sword. If you broke the sword, the dude would just reform the sword, and it was like really like there was no way to actually do it. And I kind of wanted to see which way the party swung, because I really didn't want them to have a fully good ending. I wanted it to be a little bittersweet. Like they saved the world, but they die in the process or whatever. Well, anyway, so this guy who's playing a half angel paladin, he gets the wild idea to disarm the Holy Avenger from the BBEG, which he does, and then grab it, stab the bad guy and himself, with it, so they're both connected by the sword, and then take his own big sword and then like everyone get the hell out of here, and then break the sword, blowing both of them up with it. And it was such a hugely noble sacrifice. I'm like, I don't know how to end this anymore. It was the one ending I hadn't planned for. And so we refer to the result of that as the sitcom ending, where everything good that could possibly happen after that sacrifice does happen, and everything is okay in the end. Because he just completely blew my mind with it, and so that was kind of the big finish for the campaign.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So I never play frontline or heroic characters. I always like being the awkward thinking wizard at the back, or similar type. I think the closest I've come is we were trapped with we'd been given a magic MacGuffin, and it was, drawing the monsters in, and we'd found this sentient monster that wanted to eat all our magic items. And then I managed to trick it by throwing things that I was using prestidigitation to create small metal trinkets, and just kept lopping it in its mouth. And then the DM was just making me roll like crazy, and just luck was on my side that night. And we spent a good 30 minutes, and I just didn't miss a single roll of just getting these things into its mouth. And it eventually went, "I'm full now," and walked off, which isn't heroic at all. But it felt it to the party, who were all clutching our magic items, like, no, we only just got these. Please don't let us give these up. And the DM went, "Well, that was a bit annoying. I hadn't planned that, but you can have inspiration. Well done." Yet again, best cantrip in the game.
That's outstanding.
That's a good one.
I refuse to play the party fools, so I don't have a whole lot of heroic actions that happen with my characters, and oftentimes in the campaigns that I would run, being the hero ended up being a detriment to the party overall, because you ended up calling way too much attention to yourself, or no good deed goes unpunished is one of my central tenets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's kind of more. I like 9 of those to every one actually heroic, authentic moment, because that feels more real.
Mm-hmm.
And what a better moment for the players when they do get that one moment and they can actually just celebrate it. But then they get that panic and paranoia of, wait, is something bad going to happen? And then you can launch your next arc off that. Live for it.
See, and I much prefer my players to have the thought of, when is something bad going to happen?
Yes.
Remind me to never sit at your table, Wolfsblood. You terrify me.
But it's fun, I guarantee. You enjoy the campaign, but it's one of those where you're like, I've really got to contemplate what I'm going to do. Just like I'm going to walk through the door. Oh, we're going to have some fun with that. Did you open
Enjoy,
it?
please do. You tell me how that goes. I can't wait to hear it.
Just make them do random rolls.
Oh, gosh. Well, we are at about 10 minutes before we have to wrap up, and I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to give us a quick shout out. Let us know where we can find you online, anything that you have coming up, or news that you have, or anything like that. So I'm going to go in reverse order from when we started. And Johnny, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, you can find me at EarthsEmbers on Twitter, or www.earthsembers.com. Likewise on all good podcast providers. And I think you can find my username by searching on DM's Guild, but if you go through the website, it's much easier.
Go. And do you drop new episodes? How do you do that? Is it weekly?
So it was weekly. We do, as I say, we do short form series. So each episode's an hour long. It's normally 10 episodes in a series. So we've done 2 complete series up there now. There's 2 different casts. So the first series is a homebrew with me and my friends. Second one is people like Shannon, who is amazing, after AB25 on Twitter, and a load of other awesome people from Paradise, etc. So both seasons are up. Season 3 will be coming possibly fall. I'm having a little bit of downtime. I was actually going to say I'm really looking forward to playing in some other people's games and being a bit of a guest at the moment, just to give myself a break. So if anyone wants a British guest, I'm free.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you so much for staying up super late so you could join us tonight. I know I really appreciate it. And
I've had great fun. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. pleasure. We'll have you back anytime. Candlous.
Hey,
Hey,
that's me.
that's you.
That's it. Yeah, I don't.
Candlous, aka Yacht's sister. That's how I tag her on Twitter.
Yeah,
I'm
I don't. I don't have
at
anything.
Yacht's Twitch. His sister Candlous.
Yeah, I don't have anything to plug or anything like that other than Yachts. Check out Yachts Twitch. Subscribe, all that kind of stuff. But other than that, I'm just happy to be here to talk to you guys.
Yes.
This was fun. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me back on, Luna.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, and thanks for all the hard work you do for our channel too. You're tons of fun to have as a mod, and we
Have you
super
even met
appreciate it.
Wolfsblood?
What's that?
Have you even met Wolfsblood? I don't mod. I just sit back and watch him go.
I know, right? He's like the Energizer Bunny. Oh my god. Well, thanks again. Benjamin, let's go to you. I know you have some news, so.
Oh, baby. Yeah. I'm Benjamin. I am the Dungeon Master for Lawful Great Adventures, an actual play podcast running Pathfinder First Edition, but don't let that scare you away. What we are is a narrative-heavy, lore-rich, character-driven, long-form campaign with, I can't say enough about the players in this game. We recently got a comment on Twitter saying it sounds like you've been playing those characters for years, and it just made my heart smile so much. But that's really what we're going for. We want characters that you like, experiencing things that you hate. We attempt to release weekly, and we have a pretty good track record of doing that. We have 29 episodes. Episode 29 just dropped. And the big announcement that we have is our early episodes, the sound wasn't great because we were still getting a feel for it. So I took some of the free time I got from, the corona and remastered the early episodes using some editing tricks that I've learned over the last few months. So the new listener experience for Lawful Great Adventures is significantly better. We've already gotten some really good positive comments from new listeners saying, "Oh yeah, the sound's pretty good." And of course, there's always a little bit of a forgiveness period with actual play podcasts, and so it does get better gradually as you go along. The story gets better, the characterization gets better. The whole thing is just wonderful. It's a podcast that kind of started out as a hobby, but I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of the people involved with it. It's me. It's an at the table game. So it's me and 4 Dubuque friends sitting together around a table, telling a story. And it's like one of the favorite hobbies I've ever had. This is just, it's fantastic that we stumbled on this community and this medium. So yeah, Lawful Great Adventures at Great Lawful on Twitter. We're on pretty much any podcasting platform you can find. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much, Luna, for having me on. It is an absolute pleasure being on this show, and I like talking to you on Discord and Twitter too.
Yeah.
I'm really glad we're friends.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Poor Benjamin always knows what episode I'm on because I'll send him a message and be like, "Oh my god, that reference to whatever." I sent him one totally out of the blue the other day. I'm like, "You made a house reference and nobody got it, but the minute you said that he walks with a limp and carries a cane, I knew exactly who you meant." So
Luna catches jokes that I forgot from months ago, so it actually fills me with a little nostalgia. Oh, that was time's gone. It was lovely.
Yeah. So I am actively listening to their podcast right now, playing catch up. I'm on episode 15, like I said, so I still have a little ways to go, but I'm super enjoying the story. It's really a lot of fun. So
thank you.
Kudos to you guys and all the work you do.
I'm also personally a really hardcore listener of actual plays. So after talking with EarthsEmbers, I think I'm going to pick that one next up in my queue. Your concept is really intriguing, and just your philosophy and outlook on DMing. That sounds like, frankly, really good radio. So I'm going to give that a crack.
Thank you kindly.
Excited. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's definitely on my to listen to list as well. Nerdy Chicken. I'm so happy you're here.
Yeah, I'm so happy I'm here too. I love you, Luna.
I love you too.
I tell you that all the time, I know, but it's true.
It's true.
I am at ChickenlyNerd on Instagram and Twitter. You can find my shop, www.nerdychicken.ca, and I've got all kinds of really neat, cool stuff on there. Also, this is kind of new, so I keep on forgetting about it. Every other Wednesday night on Shambazzle Games, we do a DM's Guild. We're doing a DM's Guild showcase, and we're playing a game, and it's actually a lot of fun. And we've really meshed. I mean, we've only been playing for 4 episodes, but the group is really coming together. It's awesome.
That's great. That's super fun.
I hope
Yeah.
everybody gives Shambazzle a Brad. He's a newfie,
Yes.
but
Nice.
he's got this amazing radio voice, and he is just so full of love and life. And
yeah.
I'm like, I love you, Luna, and I love Brad. Like, just such wonderful people who just effervesce. You know, it's so nice.
Yeah, he's really.
Can I
great.
show
We
you?
had him- Yeah.
Sorry,
What do you
I
have to
want to
show
show you
us?
guys I want to show you guys something that's going to come
Okay.
into the shop soon.
Okay.
I'm so
Yeah.
excited about it. They're made by the Gaming Geeks, okay, and his name is Chester.
What?
Oh my
Whoa.
god.
Oh,
Right? He weighs about 3 pounds.
Holy moly.
Amazing! Like, it's all
hell?
completely handmade. Okay. And then when
Wow.
you open them up, I'm gonna take the paper out of there.
I need this.
Oh
You
my
can see his
god.
heart.
That is unbelievable.
So much love goes into this guy.
Oh,
Wow.
It's
That
Chester.
is so cool.
That's awesome.
I definitely am gonna need to bookmark that and
And
save
it would
some
be
pennies up.
it's definitely a collector's thing. There's only 100 of them.
Oh
This is
wow.
This is number 16.
Cool.
That's
I'm not-
beautiful.
I'm not gonna
So
lie, I may have
I
been
only have
browsing some
one
of the
now.
dice on your website, and I'm like, oh crap, I found lapis lazuli ones, and now I really want those. And
when is Chester going to show up?
Chester will probably be in the shop. I'm gonna say, he might end up in there tomorrow. I'm not
so
positive.
just keep going back and checking, and you should shop for other stuff while you're on there because her store.
I should, huh?
Cool. Yeah, you
Okay.
should.
Oh,
She has dice on there.
I have medieval minis Jasmine on there.
You have really cool stuff. Like I love going on and just poking around. I'm like, oh my god, I
makes
want all of it.
She makes these
Those are so
these
neat.
little.
Is that a bookcase?
Oh wow.
It's the bookcase.
Very
it's-
cool.
Can't see the detail on my stupid camera, but it's amazing.
Manda, are you here?
Yeah, I was about to say we need this for
Okay.
Amanda.
Right?
She does
Manda, we're
amazing-
getting you this for your birthday, just so you know.
There's a jar full of eyeballs in there, and she makes all the books, and I
That's
just
amazing.
wish it wasn't so
Oh,
fuzzy.
wow.
It's fuzzy, but and she's awesome. She's amazing. I love Jasmine. I love her, love her,
Yes.
love her.
Very cool
She's like-
stuff.
The daughter I never had.
Aw.
Aw. All
Okay,
right,
I've taken up
and-
enough time. I'm done. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. We love seeing all the stuff that you've got. Wolfsblood.
Hi.
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 What's up?
Sup?
So basically, I mean, you can find me here. I'm a mod for the HowINerd channel. I am also a mod over for GamerMon Luna. Check her out. Usually Saturday mornings, kicking it off
Sunday
the right
mornings.
way.
Sunday mornings.
Is it? I thought it was
Yeah.
Saturday too.
Nope.
I don't know. There's time,
He just
and
shows
then
up.
there's
He's
not
like,
time.
oh, she's live. I should go
Oh,
show
she's
up."
live. I'm just in there. So be sure to check us out. We've got Tabletop Tavern 1 on Sunday nights. We then have Neural Nexus 0 on Monday nights. We have what I am really looking forward to. Our new Star Wars campaign will be coming in for our Tuesday nights.
Yep. That'll be probably
Tabletop
sometime
Tavern
in
2.
fall. Yep.
The fallish,
Yeah, fallish.
winterish, somewhere in there. Tabletop Tavern 2 on Wednesday nights, and then of course here for our wonderful Tales from the Tavern on Thursday nights.
I love it when my mods make my job so much easier. So yes, that is the lineup for the How I Nerd channel. So feel free to drop by and check us out. We also head up the Storytellers Union, which is a Twitch stream team. So if you are a Twitch streamer that focuses content mainly on TTRPGs, We are a team that basically we work together to try to build each other up. We help each other solve audio issues and technical issues, and we share information and just anything that we can do to kind of help boost the community, because we found I think everybody's kind of touched on it tonight, but just that the TTRPG space online really is just a really wonderful place to be, and we want to help bolster that community. So feel free to check that out if you're interested in joining. You can click the link down where it says team, or you can shoot me a message on Discord, or you can shoot HowINerd a message on Discord, and we'll get you all the information. And yeah, I think that about does it. So let me think. I'm just looking to see who's live that we could raid. Yeah, I think we're gonna raid Nerdly Gaming. They're back with their game tonight, Edgelords and Murder Hobos. So we're gonna go send them some love. If you're a subscriber, drop those emotes, let them know where you're coming from, and have a great night, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
It's what my character would do.